I think I say this every week, but there are so many voices out there trying to tell us how to live, how to be non-racist, more patriotic. Trying to figure out how to live with yourself in the middle of isolation, or how to live with others during isolation. And I keep wondering what I have to add to the dialogue, really. But, you know, I do these talks and I will do them. And I will just try to add my 2 cents. But I want to start by just saying, in the last week or so, this has become very painful. This whole episode we're going through, I have experienced it as personally painful. I mean, probably for a lot of reasons, and I don't know that you need to know all the reasons, and many of us share them. Some of you are probably having easier times, maybe some of you are having harder times. But, you know, I look at what's going on everywhere, and it's painful. And I want the world to be a happier place. And right now it's not. And it's not exactly going to just become that. There is a process that's descending upon us that seems cosmic, biblical, as some people call it. This is a very powerful, powerful time. And we are people, human beings, who are impacted by the power of what's going on around us and by our capacity to respond to so much massive, in many ways negative stimuli. And it weighs on, I will say us, but let me be more specific, me. And I find myself getting very emotional. I've never been one to cry very well, but suddenly I'm crying at television shows and movies, and feeling kind of like I want to hug everybody. And of course, you know, that's not really practical right now. Especially when I hug my grandchildren. And for the last several weekends, we've been having, or I guess what you call distance socializing. We've been at their house, they've been here, and we have dinner together at separate tables. And then this week they began a summer camp, a day camp for both of them, 5 days a week. And my son Josh and his wife Evan just felt, to be safe, we should stay away from the grandkids for the next 4 weeks and then 2 weeks after that. And I find that very, very painful. It's not uncommon right now. Our social distancing in the same space was really very special. But being cut off again for another long period is hard. I'm just throwing that out as a specific. I'm sure you all have your specifics, or don't. Some people are really weathering all of this very, very well. But I just wanted to share that just because one has a spiritual life and just because one has decades of practice, it doesn't mean that episodes of this magnitude aren't hard and that they require from us a really strong effort. Now, it's hard to know exactly what effort means because in a way it's a little bit different for each person. Sometimes that effort is in the realm of doing, and sometimes it's in the realm of being. And ideally, whatever that effort is, it will maintain a balance between doing and being that will be a representation of the totality of who you are. We are in a very interesting time where doing is difficult for many people. What to do? What do I do today? Some of you have work at home. Some of you are able to work and sustain yourself. Some of you are not. Some of you have sorted the closet 12 times and there's nothing left to sort. We each have a different and specific series of demands on us. But probably one of the most valuable things to do right now is to find moments to stop doing, sit still, and really be in as deep a space as you can find and feel the obstructions that are there, because that's where the pain will be, and go to that pain and work with it. What does that mean? Well, one, take a breath and ask for help to surrender. Feel the pain, sit with it, ask for help. It's really wonderful to ask for help. And watch what happens. Maybe nothing. But you will be doing something in the realm of being that is requesting help and focusing on the obstruction, which could be pain, which could be just closeness, discomfort, obstruction on some other level. And you focus on it, and you may not be able to do anything with it. And it may seem beyond understanding in terms of its magnitude and its power. But let me tell you a little story that I read yesterday of an old Rudy student named Greg Brodsky. And he was telling a story that Rudy was in a group and they had all these sort of problems and tests that they gave people. And one of them was, imagine a wall in front of you and describe the wall. And everybody described their walls and their problems with, how to confront the wall. And Rudy described a wall that was infinitely wide, infinitely tall, deeply buried in the ground, totally smooth and unclimbable, no way to penetrate on any level that one could notice. And he was asked, what do you do? And he said, well, I just go through the door. I loved that answer because there's always a door. And if you just know that, your spiritual intuition, your inner insight, your sense of emotional directionality will lead you to that door. And then you just walk through. Oh, you can stand outside that door as long as you want. You can stand outside the wall. But if you want, just go through. It takes a certain amount of calm, centered, relaxed openness to be aware of the door. If you're in a panic state, if you're in a state of denial, anger, frustration, whatever the things that get into the mind, you won't see anything clearly, you'll just see obstruction. When you get quiet enough and you go deep enough, there is a certain amount of mental, egoistic, emotional, intuitive clarity that forms. And I've talked about this now almost every week, maybe for the last, as long as I've been making these talks. The important element in this is that the key to dealing with something as hard as what is happening right now in the world, and in a way to us, is finding the way in, which involves one very specific thing: sit still. I gave this directive some years ago, but I really think it's important. It's what you give to your dog. Sit, stay, sit. How did I do it? Stop, sit, stay. stop what you're doing. Sit down, literally, sit down and stay there until you can get quiet enough to begin to feel this inner space revealing itself to you. And each of you has your own particular skill set in this. And some of you are better at one particular opening than another. Some of you have a really wonderful intellectual capacity and you can understand what to do. Some of you will feel what to do. Some of you have an ego survival mechanism that will kind of figure out what to do. Some of you have an intuition down in your belly that will know. Some of you have a whole alignment with all of these centers, but they will begin to be directive and instructive, and just pay attention. And if you go deep enough into these centers, there is a kind of quietude, observational stillness, and awareness that will, I would say, bring comfort, but that's not exactly the right thing. Although comfort is part of it, it brings a kind of seeing, a kind of, an awareness that is very still pointed, very simple. It doesn't necessarily see the future, doesn't necessarily reach into the background. It just goes, oh. And it, of course, brings you into the power of this moment. And you sit there with that. And it can begin to expand and expand. And as it expands, it will bring you a certain amount of asa, whatever it is that allows you in that moment to accept the totality of what is. It can be challenged very quickly. Your mind can jump into the fray and start to bring in all the problem areas, if you will. And when that starts to happen, you can get totally lost from your still pointedness. You can go jump back into the mind fray. You can get emotionally lost in all of this. And I will tell you, based on the power of what's going on, I have been doing that, getting lost in the mind, getting lost in emotion, feeling. And the thing that comes back to me every day is stop, sit, stay. Go back into this place and work it through. This is not a time to be angry at the world, to be distracted by all the stuff that's going on. It's a time to really do the work. And the work is right in front of us. We've all been trained. It's breathe into your heart, breathe into your gut, your navel, ask for help to let go and surrender the distraction, the noise, the fear, the dynamics of what are going on around you, and do it over and over and over and over until you see the door in the wall, and then go through it. Now, nobody said there's not another wall, or another wall, and another one. Nobody said that I wouldn't be there. And don't let your mind go crazy because you see, oh my God, now I've gone through that one and there's another one. That is the kind of period that we're in. We're in a period where stuff is coming at us so fast. And so the work we have to do is pretty constant. There is a lot of rejection of that, and there's a lot of resistance to that. That resistance will not help you. It will not help you at all. That resistance will just create more of the problem, and you're just going to have to go work harder to get through the debris that you create every time you move into a resistance mode and let this stuff just fall back in upon you. If you can keep working and working, which I know is hard, and I tell you that because I'm having to do it, and I'm practiced. I have done this for, half of a century. It is really, this is the time of a kind of work that I didn't even know kind of would come at us, because I always thought the work was my work, private, internal, working with the stuff of the everyday, which came at me, which was rather doable. I've never, and none of us have, ever experienced the world becoming the effort. The world becoming the situation, the environment, everything around us is that. Can you hide from that? Yeah. Turn off the TV. Don't read the newspaper. Go into your deep inner space and just sit there quietly, and then you won't have to keep working quite so hard. On the other hand, we are beings of inner and outer reality. We have an inner reality, which is a place of great ultimate comfort. We have an outer reality, which tests us regularly. Some days more than others. Some days it's really, just the joy of being and walking through the world. Other days you walk into the world and there's nothing but difficulty, pain, struggle, whatever it may be. The practice that we have goes in so that we can also work outwardly, so that we can also take in life, take in the world, take in what is given us. In days that preceded the pandemic, the ability to be with others, to find this deep inner joy, this inner peace, and share that, to be able to be with other people and be a focal point or a conduit of love and joy and kindness and compassion and understanding was wonderful. Now, we're not supposed to socialize. How do we do this work in the world? What do we do? Well, the only understanding I have, and I've expressed this before, is you can love the world in the world and share this love, if you will, in an abstract way, but it's not that abstract. It's send love, send consciousness, send this gut level caring about the world into the world in any way you can. And it's mostly by emanating. It's being that force to the best degree you can. And when you have trouble putting it out in the world, which can be making a phone call to somebody, sending an email, feeling, saying thank you to the trees and the animals and the insects that are surrounding you, finding a way to project this inner space into the outer. Then you begin to have this life that is both within and without, and it becomes very expansive and becomes a totality. And the totality can be very small, as many people have, or it can become vast, which you are all capable of doing. You can learn to go in and out together. But if you find yourself only wanting to be in or only wanting to be out, and by only wanting to be out, it could be in the struggle and afraid of the work inside, dealing with your mindful craziness and, oh my God, it's so hard. And blah, blah, blah. That's being out in the world as well as being in the world as a loving force. You can find your way into the world and be conscious, find your way back into yourself and be conscious and expand that so that in the end, you are a benefit to life itself. You may not have the opportunity to benefit the totality of humanity. You may not be able to become a leader on some, political, emotional, intellectual way. But you can influence the environment you're in. You can. And if you do that work, you will be serving humanity, serving yourself, serving those closest to you. And trust me, that work will come up every day. I see it with me and Blanche. I see when my tensions start to erupt and they start to reflect themselves in my experience with Blanche, and I know I have to do the work. I can't rely on anybody else. I mean, I would love Blanche to do all the work. That would make life really easy for me. But the truth is, it's my work. It's hers too, but I'm only me. And my work is to find a way to not let these outer tensions or inner obstructions get in the way of my day-to-day existence. That is our job. And if we're spiritually driven people, meaning consciously driven people, we can go into the place where we need to go, do the thing that opens us back up, walk through the wall, through the door in the wall to a place of knowing, and begin to function better and better as a human being. Again, in normal life, this is a wonderful, sweet practice. Today, it's essential. This is not a choice. It's really, I mean, it is a choice. But if you choose not to do this, you will find yourself growing in your tension, in your anxiety, in your sadness, or whatever it is. This will take over. As I read in the newspaper, 1/3 of our population, it may have been the world population, but maybe we're America, is in a state of depression and anxiety. 1/3. I'm surprised it's only 1/3, because what is happening is so potent. The upside of what's happening and its potency is that we have an opportunity here to know we have no choice. We must do this. We must do this for our own personal survival, and then for the help that we offer to the world. And the muscle that we build in a period like this will be of enormous value to everyone around us. And again, everyone around you is anyone you can reach out to. And it doesn't have to be much more than, hi, how you doing? You okay? That's real. The kindness that you can show to people, the goodness you can show to people. And nowadays we have this technological power of email, of Skype, of all these other things to really do the right thing out there. And that will help us do the right thing inside. And we become beneficiaries, if you will, of the work. Now, the one thing I want to add to this is there is a deepening that is going on because of all of this that is really hard to fathom. And that is reality itself is crumbling on some level. Reality meaning the world we knew, the world we know emotionally, intellectually, psychically, is starting to disintegrate in some way. I do not understand that in the global way so much as I've been watching it happening in me over the last, particularly the last several years, but in the last year especially. It is a very strange experience because everything that you think you know becomes fake news. Everything. Nothing quite holds up. It starts to turn in on itself. Reality as a manifested state becomes more like a virtual reality. And what you're really experiencing here in reality starts to show itself. And one of the things that's happening to the world is that the whole world is watching reality change. We're watching reality turn into something we have not witnessed before. It's not holding up. Things are not what they're supposed to be, what they used to be. Now, and this may be just, the outer drama of the world, and it could also be something much bigger, that we are all collectively beginning to witness the larger, non-materialized reality that we imagine exists as the ultimate foundational space for our lives, that there's something else going on. And that other thing that's going on is not comprehensible to the brain, the emotional life, or even the intuitive life. It's just so other. And it feels ultimately profoundly without meaning and deeply empty. And all I can do is tell you the journey into emptiness, into meaninglessness, into nothingness, which we are all on, is being amplified by what's happening. This is a profoundly destabilizing period, and yet it offers us a journey into something that is a kind of reality or truth that none of us have truly known before. It is the space of, I guess, the enlightened, the awakened, and a lot of us have maybe touched it in moments, maybe have lived there. I thought I was living there until this all started to happen, and I realized, oh my God, it's bigger than I had ever imagined. This is a collective awakening. It's a collective moment. And we are all in it together. I don't know what more to say about it, except that do the work. Do the work. You are here now in the middle of all of this. This is a very powerful and impactful moment. Reality itself is changing, shifting. If you can keep yourself present tense, still pointed, focused, open, and available, you will witness where reality is leading us. But your mind won't get it, your emotions won't get it, your gut won't get it, but you will see it. You will witness what is happening. We're all here together in this. And again, strange as it is with this Zoom universe, we're all in it holding hands. So all I can say is, and I think the whole point of this talk today is, do your work. It's not a matter of wanting or not wanting. It's a matter of needing to do the work, because otherwise this becomes truly destabilizing. And the only way to really accommodate what's going on here is to surrender in the most profound way everything that knows what is and see what emerges. This is the journey right now. So I hope that's not depressing for everybody, but I think it's real. And I really, I think the benefit of it, the only benefit that I keep finding over and over when I enter into the apparent nothingness of all of this, is this reminder, forgive me for the cliche of it all, of love, truth, and beauty. That's the one thing that comes back. And even as that stuff seems to dissolve, the mere fact of its existence is enough for me. So we're on this together. We're in it together. I love you guys. And I know it's hard. I know this is really not the message everybody wants. And, but I don't know what else to say other than, let's stay in touch continually as often as you want. Feel free to call, write, and I'll keep coming back and giving these talks if you still want to hear them. And I definitely will send you the energy that I think will help do this, because I think it's very real. And it's the energy that Rudy used to give us. And it does two things. It fills us and it also takes away the garbage. So give the garbage up to the energy and let it get burned away. Take the love that replaces it and let it fill you and fill your day and fill your life. And I think in the end, this is going to bring us into a level of truth and knowing that is beyond anything we ever imagined. So good luck. Any questions? Oops. Nate, go ahead.
Hi, everybody. I've been having a really difficult time, and you sort of spoke on it, but the compounding of the state of the world, plus, being home with my parents, which I haven't done in, a very long time. And that brings up a lot of very interesting and difficult old beliefs, stories, things of that nature. And I'm curious, you talked about being able to emit an energy that becomes helpful or productive in the world. And I'm finding that so many things are coming up that are really difficult or very painful and making me very angry. And I don't necessarily know, I'm getting entangled in this root of like, do I express this? Do I put this energy into the world so that I can free myself of it? Or is that something that I go in and try and work through, and then but when I do that, I sort of feel as if I'm holding these things in. And I'm just curious if you can talk a bit about, dealing with these things that maybe a lot of us are feeling that are difficult or frustrating, in that space of giving them out or dealing with them inside. I get very all over the place with it.
You hear how you're talking right now? It's so honest, it's so authentic, it's so real, it's so not full of emotion, it's not full of anger, it's very clear-headed. That's how you talk about it. That's how you bring it up. If it's with your parents or people around you, talk just like you are now. It's just real. It's just it's the honesty of that that has power. It's the totality of that that has power. If you come at it with the anger itself, then you're going to have an explosion that will come back at you. You'll be hit by the explosion as much as the people around you. But if you take all of that and you express it with, I don't know what to do with this. This is hard. These are feelings I've had for a long time. They're throwing me, they're confusing me, or this is difficult, or exchanging this with you is going to be possibly painful, but I need to talk about it from a real place. That will have great value. It can have great value. Not everybody will be responsive to it, but it won't be conflicted, and it won't be trying to elicit a response. It will just be honest expression. And usually that kind of honesty disarms the person you're talking to, and it's something real starts to come through that's good for both of you. And I think that's really healthy. And I think healthy discussion with heart open, with head open, gut open, really is liberating in the moment. Now, you may have to have that discussion again. You know, that happens sometimes. You know, it doesn't all get discussed or all get worked through, and the other person may have more trouble now dealing with it and the honesty of it than you did. And so you have to come back to it. But if you open to that inner space, of that honest space, which you were expressing so easily, you know, a minute ago, you will be fine. It will work for you. It will be helpful for you and your parents and anyone else who may come into the equation. You have the skill set for that. You demonstrated it a minute ago. Use it and you'll be fine. But don't try to hide your anger. Don't try to hide your emotion, because that gets complicated. And then it comes out through little fissures and cracks and little wounds in the day-to-day experience. And then that doesn't bode well for anybody, usually. You know, most of us don't know how to control that very well, but years of spiritual practice will build a capacity to be more non-reactive to your own stuff, and finally finding a real way to express your things creatively, constructively, helpfully to everyone, including you. So anyway, I think you have the key to do it. Just do it.
Thank you.
Okay. I know I'm only here once a month, and if any of you need more time or more one-on-one, I really am available and would be happy to try to help you. Let me just say this quickly to the San Rafael class, however. I know that originally there was going to be classes every other week in Petaluma and in Oakland. And all of that was worked out, and all the teachers would have a chance to teach. And then, of course, all of this pandemic thing came about, and those classes were aborted. And then the Zoom classes started. And I know Mark's not with us right now again, but Mark started teaching, but he was a teacher before he started teaching this work. And I know he's teaching some of his old practice. And he's invited anyone who wants to be part of that to join, and that's totally fine with me. And I know that Genna has offered to teach both in the park, quietly at a distance, or on Zoom. And some of you have, at this point, I guess nobody has responded to that. You know, there's no what can I say, requirement for anybody to do anything. The idea that you might have classes every weekend when I'm not around is not a bad idea for Zoom. If you want to somehow work out a thing where each of the teachers can teach each week, that would be fine with me. If you don't want to do that, sitting by yourself is fine with me. Nobody should take it personally, and that's particularly Genna at this point about whether people come or don't come. That's not an issue. If you guys want to try a weekly class, great. If you don't want to try a weekly class, that's fine. Just do your own practice. But I want to leave it up to you as a group to make those kinds of decisions. And if you can't make them, then just, we'll see each other once a month. But I do want to let you know that I deeply, deeply miss you guys. And I really, really care about you. And I am really available to talk, sit, or whatever if you have a need. So feel free to stay in touch. But I will say, once a month, it's not a lot, but it works. And I'm happy to be there with you during those moments. But again, if you need more, we'll talk. You can also sign into other classes that I do on the weekends if you need to have more classes. So we can talk about that as well. Anyway, I know this has been a long one. I really, really love you guys. And I thank you for showing up. It is amazingly joyful for me to see you all. And I really appreciate it. So until I hear from you again, have a great rest of the weekend, and see you soon.